Shalom, everyone. Tonight I want to take a look at what it truly means to be like-minded in Messiah versus the agenda that's out there now, which is to socially engineer us into what they would have us to be. So I'm going to start where we see this scripture. We're going to go to Philippians 2:2. If you want to turn there in your scriptures. Fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. So we see here, first I just want to take a quick look at this G846. We see both words here. We have a 5426 and an 846. Lots of times you'll see the 846. It means self or he. Well, let's go look at it. Pull it up here on the eSword. Here it is, 846 down here at the bottom. It's a baffling window right here. Reflexive pronoun self, used as the third, or alone or in the compound of G1438 of the third person, and with the proper personal pronoun of the other persons. Her, it, same, him, yourself, itself. So here we're kind of looking at the word self in this respect. So in and of yourself, you need to have this certain mind. In and of yourself, we see right here, we see this 846 again. You need to have this love so that you can be of one accord and one mind. So I want to look at this, what it means to be like-minded. Here we see in the Strong's, the Greek definition. Phroneho from G5424. To exercise the mind, that is, entertain, which we have way too much of in this world, or have a sentiment or opinion, way too many opinions. By implication, to be mentally disposed, more or less earnestly in a certain direction. Which direction are we heading? Intensively, to interest oneself in with concern or obedience. So in the Greek, we even see this mindedness is to interest oneself, to be concerned with, to be obedient to be headed in a certain direction. That's what we see in the Greek. If we trace it back to Isaiah 44:18, this is speaking about those who made idols in those days. Back in those days, they made them out of wood and stone and silver and gold. There's idols in our hearts that are not necessarily made of wood, but they might as well be made of wood. They could be made of paper. They could be made of a 0 and a 1. Some of you will understand that. So Isaiah 44:18, they do not know nor understand, for he has smeared their eyes from seeing and their hearts from understanding. So we see here that these ones that are being spoken of here, they do not know nor understand. That is not the direction we want to be heading. We see it's the Strong's, G995, B'nai. Or Ben, I like B'nai. Because we have implied vowels, so let's just imply them. A primitive root to separate mentally or distinguish, that is generally to understand. So in the Strong's, we're able to separate one way from another way, obedience from disobedience, walking in the spirit of the Ruach HaKodesh, walking in that spirit, or walking after a spirit a different spirit. We see in the ancient Hebrew lexicon, it is in this root line here, 1037 MV. And I've highlighted all the words in the lexicon in blue, so you guys kind of see where I'm at if I forget to highlight them. Understand. Okay. And at the M, we have the action is plan. The abstract is understand. The tent was usually divided into two parts, one for the females, the other for the males. The wall makes a distinction between the two sides. It also means understanding as the ability to discern between two or more things. At the 1037 two-letter root, and we read from right to left, we have a bait and a noon. The action is to build. The concrete is tent panel. The abstract is intelligence. The pictograph bait is a picture of the tent. The noon is a picture of a sprouting seed and represents continuity as the seed continues to the next generation. Well, that ought to be enough right there. The combined meaning of these letters mean the continuing of the house. The tent was constructed of woven goat hair. Over time, the sun bleaches and weakens the goat hair, necessitating their continual replacement, like a cycle. Each year, the women make a new panel approximately 3 feet wide and the length of the tent. The old panel is removed, being recycled into the wall or the floor, and the new strip is added to the tent. Since the tent is only replaced one small piece at a time, the tent essentially lasts forever. So we have a bait. I have them down here at the bottom. We have the bait, which is a house. We saw it up there, a house, family in tent floor plan. We have the yod, which is throw, make, work, and worship. And we have a noon, which is the seed or the fish, which means continue, air, sun, or life. We know a seed is also the word according to scriptures. And so we have one side that would be going one way and another side that would be going the other way. One is discerning spiritual matters. One is discerning earthly matters. Are we able to distinguish between that which is from the seed of Yah and from his house and that which is from the seed of the enemy? We are the ones called to follow the tent floor plan, the bait. That by our works, yod, right there, we show that we are the sons and daughters, the seed of Elohim. In this same root line, at the A family, we have the word for sons, bens. We have the word for daughters in there. So in this root, do we have the understanding to follow the tent floor plan? That the seed has been planted in us. Do we understand that? That we are the house. That we have the understanding of the works we should be doing, the way in which we should worship, which is also a yod. And as the next word in the verse implies, the correct meaning of love, which we saw from Philippians 2:2. Do we have this understanding in and of ourselves what that means? If we have this understanding in and of ourselves, we can then be of one accord, ihad, in accord with each other, and ihad, walking in the same understanding with other members of the family who are in the house. This is all about the understanding of being in the house of Yah and what that entails. It's a black or white. There's no gray area. There's no gray area with his name. There's no gray area with his cycles. There's no gray areas about what the meaning of love is. There's no gray areas. There's no compromise. The understanding of the Son, the seed, the Word, the seed himself in us. We need to be so familiar with the understanding of the truth that when a counterfeit looms on the horizon, we recognize it immediately. We'll just fix that word in motion right here. Okay. We need to be so familiar with the understanding of being a son and a daughter of Yahusha Messiah, Yahuwah who came to rescue us, that when that counterfeit looms on the horizon, we are able to pick it out immediately and distinguish that it's not from his house. So that's what like-minded looks like as far as the Hebrew word and a Hebrew understanding. So let's go to John 3. Excuse me, 1 John chapter 3. It's a beautiful picture of what that looks like. See what love the Father has given us. We should have that same love in ourselves. The same understanding of that love within ourselves. The same understanding of the love that Messiah showed. That he humbled himself to death, even death on a stake. See what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children, the seed, the sons, the daughters of Elohim. For this reason the world does not know us. They're on a different path. They're headed somewhere else. They are the sons of disobedience. They are children of their father, the devil. Because, for this reason the world does not know us. Because it did not know him. There is no intimacy. The world does not have any intimacy with him. They are not sons and daughters of the Most High El. Beloved ones, now we are children, the seed of the house of Elohim. And it has not yet been revealed what we shall be, but we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And when he's been revealed, at the time of the first resurrection, we will see him and we shall be like him, because we are the sons and daughters in the house of Elohim, and we shall be like our Father. Right now we should be walking that out. But we shall see him as he is. And we shall be in that in the first resurrection. And everyone having this expectation in him, in Messiah, in the seed that is planted in us, to those that are in the house that have the seed planted in them, cleanses himself. What's that? Repents, turns back, heads the right direction, as he is clean. We were buried with him in immersion, and now we endure dying to this flesh till the end. Does Yah know that? Of course he knows that. Does it mean we negate that we have to do it just because he knows? No, because if we weren't going to do it, he'd already know that too. It shouldn't make us want to do it any less. Everyone doing sin, which is of the other seed, the seed that it is at enmity with Yahusha, with Yahuwah who came to rescue us, also does lawlessness, and sin is lawlessness. Anything that has to do with that other seed is lawlessness. And you know that he was manifested to take away our sins. That's what we did when we were following the other seed. When we were listening to the other word that was put out there to us by the adversary. He was manifested to take that away so that we could walk in righteousness. And because in him there is no sin. Everyone staying in him does not sin. Everyone sinning has neither seen him or known him. Are you ever going to sin? If you say you don't have sin, you're a liar and the truth isn't in you. You recognize it immediately as soon as it looms on the horizon is not something that has control over you. It does not master you. Little children, let no one lead you astray. Let no one lead you astray. We're going to look at how they're trying to lead us astray. Remember, Yahusha said there are wolves in sheep's clothing. They don't look like wolves. They look like sheep. Remember, there are tares amongst the wheat. Let no one lead you astray, whether it be outside of the assembly, of an assembly, whether it be someone that's not even speaking the truth, or someone that seemingly is. We need to be so familiar with the understanding of what it means to be a son and daughter that we are striving to be like him, striving to enter the door, which is him. The one doing righteousness is righteous even as he is righteous. The one doing sin is of the devil, whose seed Yah put enmity between the woman's seed and his seed, between his word and that word. Because the devil has sinned from the beginning. He's been a murderer from the beginning, wants you to die eternal death, and he's been a liar from the very start. For this purpose, the Son of Elohim, this is the word of Elohim, the seed that he breathed, wrapped himself in it, the fullness of him bodily, came to walk out what he breathed, was manifested to destroy the works of the devil, that we could come back into the proper order, the Melchizedek order, under the King of Righteousness, when he is revealed. And we could be like him. That we could be sons and daughters. And rule and reign with him, not only for the 1,000 years, but into eternal life, and bring others in. Everyone having been born of Elohim does not sin, because his seed stays in him. We don't continually miss the mark. Do we ever miss the mark? I don't know. Look at Peter. We don't stay in that. We do not continue on in that. And he is powerless to sin because he has been born of Elohim. I mean, it gets to us in many areas of our life in that direction. We're just powerless to sin in some of our lives. I mean, the enemy's got to come in with such a little twist on his word that if we're not so familiar with the truth, we don't recognize that seed, that word that is spoken. In this, the children of Elohim and the children of the devil are manifest. Which direction are we going? Are we able to distinguish? Everyone not doing righteousness is not of Elohim, neither the one not loving his brother. Because this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. This is a loving truth. It is not compromise. Cotton candy. Mamby-pamby. Tiptoe through the tulips kind of love. It doesn't mean there's not encouragement and joy, but there's also reproof. There's also correction. This love does not want his brother to die. Not as Cain, who was of the wicked one, had another seed going on, and killed his brother. And why did he kill him? Because his works were wicked. They were of the other seed, but those of his brother were righteous. That's your difference. Right there. Whose mind do we have in us that comes from the seed that's been planted, that's being nurtured and watered, and Yah can give the increase to that seed? Whose mind do we have? Comes from the seed that's planted inside of us. So I want to go look at the other side of this before we really delve into the scriptures and look for ourselves, just so we have some context. And a lot of this stuff we already know. But for those that don't, or just as a reminder, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this like I did in the last couple videos. I just want to give some context to what's going on out there. I want to put some verbiage to it. That we recognize these things immediately and call them out for what they are. What they say, call a spade a spade. Is that it? So we're going to look at social engineering. And this is from, I will put the website's down here. And I'll put all these different, mostly we're just really going to be on Google. We're not, like I said, we're not going to spend a lot of time on here. If anyone's interested, they can just springboard right off of Wikipedia, springboard right off Wikipedia. Like I said, not a lot. In context of information security, and this is on a personal level here, but it applies on a larger scope, on a macro scale as well. In the context of information security is the psychological manipulation of people into performing actions or divulging confidential information. Okay, let's stop there. Let me read the next sentence. This differs from social engineering within the social sciences, which does not concern the divulging of confidential information. I would disagree with that statement wholeheartedly. Let's just think about Big Brother. Let's think about Google having our health records. Let's think about Google and Gmail in general. Let's just think about the internet, the cell phone, the tracking devices. I absolutely disagree with that. And it's not really even the thing that I would agree with on it. This kind of seems like, they're tricking us into giving out our information, like when the spammer guy calls the elderly person on the phone because they're easily tricked. We do it willingly. I do it willingly. It happens every day. Here I am right here talking to you. Here's this guy. My little personal AI goes with me everywhere I go, every day. We do it willingly. Can we live without this stuff? I mean, we could. I think it'd be nice again. But here we are. And living in this world and not being of it, we still live in this world. So, I mean, that's really hard. And I'll admit it, that's really hard. So I disagree with that statement. They're getting us to divulge our confidential information, and we realize they put the stuff out there, but do we really realize we have been sold a bill of goods? We have been sold up the river. I don't need to give you a list of people, organizations, groups, and countries that have sold us up the river. Most people here, I'm sure, know. A type of confidence trick. You know that was coming. For the purpose of information gathering, fraud, or system access. Well, that's just everything I just said. Let me get that big list back out again. It differs from a traditional con. Boy, that it does. It's on a wide scale. It's on a mass scale. In that it is often one of many steps in a more complex fraud scheme. Okay, this is on a personal level. This is information security. This isn't even the social science, social engineering they're talking about. I mean, if that doesn't all ring a bell. And then from this this is from the same website. Okay. It has also been defined as any act that influences a person to take an action that may or may not be in their best interest. I could think of several, at least one governmental program right now that would fall into that category. We could think about the pulses, we could think about the waves, we could think about the words, we could just some of the things I've talked about in the last two videos that I've done. Not going to go back down that path again. You can go back and look at them. Constantly, whatever they can do to maneuver how we act, what we do, which direction that we're going, and I guarantee you, and you all know it, they are not trying to move us towards the house and the understanding of being sons and daughters of Yahuwah Elohim. They are looking to bring us into the hive mind. Never in Scripture are we called bees. We are never in a hive. We are sons and daughters. We're not sheeple of the world. We're the sheep of the flock of the shepherd, whose voice that we're supposed to know, whom we follow, who loves us, who goes for the one lost sheep. Not a hive of people whom the queen does not care about, that's out laying her seeds everywhere. Yeah. They are not. They are of the other seed. They are sons and daughters of their father, the devil. And they come in all shapes, sizes, forms, religions. It's everywhere. There's one way. One way. One. And he's laid it out. Okay, then I did a Google search and I found this other definition. Let me move this computer here. The use of centralized planning. Well, they got a plan. In an attempt to manage social change and regulate the future development and behavior of a society. And this was their sentence they had. The country's unique blend of open economics, which we do not have, authoritarian politics, which we believe that we don't have, but honestly, yes we do. Yes we do. Are we really free? Really? Now, granted, we don't have some of the authoritarian stuff as other places, but are we really free? We're getting down to the point where they're squashing that in what little we think that we have. And social engineering. We got a unique blend going on. It's not a country by country blend. It's a world blend. It's a global blend. All right, so now we're going to go to this. Is Wikipedia. And this is actually social engineering and political science. That was just on a personal level. Well, the top one was. The bottom one was more of a political science level. So, again, this will be in the description box so you can get to it. This is just a Wikipedia. So I'm going to read this. Hopefully you can get to it and follow along. Social engineering, political science. Social engineering is a discipline in social science that refers to efforts to influence particular attitudes and social behavior on a large scale. They are looking to influence particular attitudes and social behaviors on a large scale. We could run a list of them. I could run a list of them for you. Many of us could run a list of ways they're trying to move us and change us that are against the word of Yahuwah. We could run a list of how they do the influencing. From television to radio to computer. But what about the things that we don't see? What about when we used to have on the movie screen and in between the film, on the reel in between the films, I can't think of what it's called, figures, they had the popcorn and the pop to influence to go and buy a pop. Okay, that ain't nothing compared to what we got now coming through this computer. All right. In the air, on the phone, by our ear, all day long, constant bombardment from everywhere across a grid that we don't even realize sometimes what we're getting. Whether by, okay, continuing on with the article, on a large scale, whether by governments, imagine that. Media, imagine that. Or private groups. Should we list those? I don't think we need to. I think I listed some of them in the last couple of videos. But there's more, and we all know it. In order to produce desired characteristics in a target population. Anything but the understanding of being a son or a daughter of Yahuwah Elohim is the desired characteristic that they want to see in you and they want to control. Anything but that. Because they can't control him. And they can't get to the seed that's planted in our heart. They can't have it. We need not fear what man can do to the body, but what Yahuwah can do. The enemy wants the desired characteristic in the entire population of eternal death. He wants you to think, he wants us to think that we would be Elohim in our own lives, just like he did in the garden. Oh, and you're going to be like Elohim. That's what he wants. And it's a path to eternal death. And we need to distinguish between the two. There is no government that is exempt from what I just said. I see not one. Social engineering can also be understood philosophically as a deterministic phenomenon where the intentions and the goals of the architects of the new social construct are realized. So the architects have this philosophy where their intentions and their goals of this new construct are realized. If we go to, we'll just go look at it real quick. Then we're going to come back to this page. We're going to go to this Wikipedia page. Social constructionism. Let's just see what that is so we make sure we're on the same page. And go to the top. Social constructionism is a theory of knowledge in sociology and communication therapy. Let me tell you, we're going to read all about it being about the language and the words. It's all a word game. If they can get that word in your head because you're not so familiar with the truth and that seed isn't increasing that's inside of you, I hate to say they're going to win over a person because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. But boy, it's sure going to make it hard. I understand. that examines the development of jointly constructed understandings of the world that form the basis for shared assumptions about reality. What's our reality? Is this our reality? Really? I mean, I know we live in the world, but are we of the world? Is this really, we're living in this realm here, but are we minding the earthly things? Are we minding the spiritual things? What do we assume about what we see around us that makes up our reality? The theory centers on the notion that meanings are developed in coordination with others rather than separately within each individual. Who are we surrounded by? Are they truly the sons and daughters of Elohim with the understanding of the 10th floor plan and the works that they should be doing by the seed that's planted in them? Social or not. It's one or the other. Social constructionism questions what is defined by humans and society to be reality. And the winners rewrite the history. What is reality? What is reality now? It's not what we see on our computer screens all the time. Because I can tell you, if you go look up that latest CES 2020, this was I can't remember, maybe it was San Diego. A lot of the stuff you see on here, a lot of these people on here, they ain't even real. Therefore, social constructs can be different based on the society and the events surrounding the time period in which they exist. And the winner writes the history. An example of social construct is money or the concept of currency, as people in society have agreed to give it importance/value. Error, but it's the truth. It's an error. Let's leave it at that. Another example of social construction is the concept of self or self-identity. Charles Cooley stated, based on his looking glass self theory, we're not going to go there, I am not who you think I am. I am not who I think I am. I am who you think that I am. Okay, this demonstrates how people in society construct ideas or concepts that may not exist without the existence of people or language to validate those concepts. Who are we surrounded by that's giving us a concept about who we are and the language we're speaking to each other? It boils down to that. If we didn't have people around us, then I would be who I think I am, because I wouldn't have anybody else for you to be able to think who I am. People in society construct ideas or concepts that may not exist without the existence of people or language to validate those concepts. We need to surround ourselves with the mishpachah of Yahuwah Elohim. There are weak and strong social constructs. I can think of some that could use some weakening. Weak social constructs rely on brute facts, which are fundamental facts that are difficult to explain or understand, such as quarks. Okay, that's not what I meant by my comment. Okay. Weak social constructs rely on brute facts. A brute fact is a fact that has no explanation. More narrowly, brute facts may instead be defined as those facts which cannot be explained. Okay. To reject the existence of brute facts is to think that everything can be explained. That's the definition of that. Or institutional facts, which are formed in social conventions. Strong social constructs rely on the human perspective and knowledge that does not just exist, but is rather constructed by society. Yeah, let's leave that. A social construct or construction concerns the meaning, notion, or connotation placed on an object or event by a society. What is your attention being drawn to? What has meaning? What do you place high value on? And adopted by the inhabitants of that society with respect to how they view or deal with the object or event. We have so much of that going on, from the top realms of what runs this country to what runs the world. They're all working hand in hand to have us view objects or events with the meaning and the connotation that they want us to have about them. And the winner rewrites the history, writes the history. In that respect, a social construct as an idea would be widely accepted as natural by the society. It just always is, it always was, it's just the way it was, it's just the way it is. No, it's not. A major focus of social constructionism is to uncover the ways which individuals and groups participate in the construction of their perceived social reality. Let's read that sentence again. A major focus of social constructionism. A major focus a major focus of social constructionism, what they're constructing that they want you to be according to their agenda. Major focus of it is to uncover the ways which we as individuals or as a group participate in the construction of our perceived social reality on a macro scale and on a micro scale. It involves looking at the ways social phenomena are developed. Social phenomena includes all behavior that influence or is influenced by organisms sufficiently, I'm going to click on it, alive to respond to one another. So they are looking at the ways which we are involved with one another, because that is the basis, because we are so involved with everyone. That's where we get kind of our, I don't want to say our individuality, but it was like what they talked about above. It was the guy's quote. I see myself, my reality. Where did he say? Let me go back up to it. I am who I think that you think that I am. A major focus of social constructionism is to uncover the ways that individuals and groups participate in the construction of their perceived reality. How are we constructing it? By what social phenomena in our interactions are developed? Institutionalized by our established practices, our customs, by our established as part of an official organization. They're looking at that. Known and made into tradition by humans. So they're seeing everything on every level, and then what we put into tradition with that. They're looking at everything as bottom line, what it boils down to. On a macro scale and on a micro scale. In terms of background, we're under the origin section on this social constructionism page on Wikipedia. In terms of background, social constructionism is rooted in symbolic interactionism and phenomenology. That was fun to say. So, social constructionism is rooted in symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism is a sociological theory, and you can go down to the next website, and then we're going to go back. I don't want to go there. And then we're going to go back to the first one. So this social constructionism, being constructed into the ways that they want you to be constructed. And if anyone's on this Wikipedia page, isn't that an interesting purple picture over there on the right-hand side? Is a sociological theory that develops from practical consideration and alludes to people's particular utilization of dialect, words, spoken words, to make images and normal implication for deduction and correspondence with others. They're looking at everything we say. In other words, it is a frame of reference to better understand how individuals interact with one another so they can get us to interact the way that they want us to interact. How they can push what they want to push. So they can see what little twists they might add that might twist us the other way, because they know if they add a big twist, we ain't going to go for it, so they got to add the little twist. Some people they can just add the big twist to. They're all twisted anyway. In other words, it is a frame of reference to better understand how individuals interact with one another to create symbolic worlds, and in return, how these shape individual behaviors. It is a framework that helps understand how society is preserved and created through repeated actions between individuals. Over and over and over. It's kind of like the rule in advertising where you send somebody something 3 times. You don't just send it to them once, they need to see it 3 times. Same kind of concept here. The interpretation process that occurs between interactions help create and recreate meaning. How it is interpreted, the interpretation process that occurs between interactions, help create and recreate the meaning. It is the shared understanding and interpretations of meaning that affect the interaction between individuals. Shared understanding. What shared understanding is? Their understanding, the understanding that we want to share? I don't want to have not understanding of being a son or daughter in the house of Yahuwah Elohim. I want to have the understanding and interact with those that are truly, truly seeking to understand what He's laid out before us and the seed that He's planted in us. I don't want compromise. How many of us want compromise? Oh, it's okay, you just do that. It'll be okay. He understands. My foot. He does not. Is he working with people? I don't disagree with that at all. We need to get on the same page. We need to get in the same boat. We need to get in the same house and get under the same rules. It is the shared understanding and interpretations of meaning that affect the interaction between individuals. Individuals act on the premise of a shared understanding of meaning within their social context. Individuals act. The actions that we perform are going to be based on the premise of the shared understanding that we have with those around us of the meaning of those things within our social, within our group. Of those that if you hang out at the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. Thus, interaction and behavior is framed through the shared meaning that objects and concepts have attached to them. From this view, people live in both natural and symbolic environments. Okay, I want to be in the world and not of it. If that's what they mean by that, that's what I want to be. though I think they got a different idea. Symbolic interactionism comes from a sociological perspective which developed around the middle of the 20th century and that continues to be influential in some areas of the discipline. It is particularly important in microsociology and social psychology. So microsociology is one of the main levels of analysis in the overlying concept of sociology concerning the nature of everyday social human interactions. Facebook. Or whatever else you do. BitChute, MeWe, whatever it is. I don't care. Oh, we're private. No, you're not. Can't be. It's possible. It is impossible. Anybody thinks they're on BitChute and they get to be there? Let me tell you, one day those bits are going to get put right down the garbage chute. I understand people have to be there because they can't be on these other places because that's the macro engineering side. I may be over there eventually. Who knows? Or was I? All right. Microsociology is concerned with the nature of everyday social human interactions and agency on a small scale, face to face. There are wolves in sheep's clothing and there's are tares amongst the wheat. I'd like to say there's sleeper cells in some places, though I can't put a finger on that in the scripture necessarily. But there are spies, sleeper cells, tares, wolves in sheep's clothing. Just because they're wolves in sheep's clothing, they're still wolves in sheep's clothing. Maybe they're still acting like a sheep. And the wolf side hasn't come out yet. Can it be helped? I don't know. You have to decide wherever you're at. Microsociology is based on interpretive analysis rather than statistical or empirical observation. So they can't really get to the bottom of it. You know, they're not, they don't have the exact nothing. They can only randomly generate whatever it is they think, though they can get close based on human behavior. Because the enemy will use human behavior, human nature, and your past to combinatorially optimize to move you in the direction that he wants to. So, symbolic interactionism is particularly important with microsociology, which we just looked at, microscale, day-to-day human operations. And social psychology, also known as sociological social psychology or microsociology. It's the same thing. It focuses on the social actions and on inner relations of personality, values, and mind within social structures and culture. One of the major topics in this field is social status. I don't know, maybe we're going to get a social credit score. Somewhere I heard that. It is derived from the American philosophy because that's what we want to have is an American philosophy. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with America, but I want to stick with the words of Yahuwah Elohim, and I guarantee you he ain't got no philosophy of anything for what's going on in this country. It's all trash. If it doesn't have to do with Yahuwah, no, let me not say that. The people that have to do with Yahuwah Elohim and spreading his word and bringing people into the truth of the knowledge and the language which they are so desperately after. Okay, you could be in this country. You could be in any country. I don't care where you are in the world. They're not looking for country to country. They're looking for global domination. They're looking for full spectrum dominance. It is derived from the American philosophy of pragmatism, and particularly from the work of George Herbert Mead as a pragmatic method to interpret social interactions. And you can go look up pragmaticism if you want. We're not going there. So let's go back here to the first page, back to the political science. Okay. Social engineers. Boy, oh boy. Let me give you the letters of some alphabet agencies. That ought to be good enough. Google's now, what do they call themselves? Alphabet? Gee, I wonder what they're after. Social engineers use the scientific method. Oh, this baby's coming off my head. You see that? All right, we're cool now. Social engineers use the scientific method to analyze and understand social systems in order to design the appropriate methods to achieve the desired result in human subjects. Social engineering. Macro scale, micro scale. Okay. Again, we've got wolves in sheep's clothing. We've got tares amongst the wheat. We've got people that we were always walking with that we thought we were walking with, and then they're on another page. Or we come to realize what some of the things in the word really says, and they're not coming along with us. Do we want to bring them along with us? Do we keep witnessing to them? Of course we do. But we need to keep in mind that in and of ourselves, we need to have the understanding of what it means to be a son or a daughter in the house of Elohim, being built into the house of Elohim, helping to build others to be in the house of Elohim. We need to remember that because we need to be so focused that when he is revealed that we will be made like him. Okay? Macro scale, micro scale. If we think this isn't happening in the assemblies and that other seed isn't there, we would be incorrect. Why would he tell us they were there? That doesn't even make any sense. Okay, I'm going to talk about this down right here. This is more on a macro scale right here. I work on a digital billboard. And we can pay for a service that will allow us, this is my understanding, this is what they told me. I didn't look into it. This is what they told me. We can pay for a service that will allow us to gain data on how many people look at the billboard for how many seconds as they pass by. What? You know where my eyeballs are? How much more so do you think what we're talking about here as I'm looking at you on this computer? How much more so? Kind of covered the pulses. I covered the pulses in, I think it's the 616 mark of the beast. It's pulsing therapy. Light wave, sound wave, pulse. Can change you. Look it up. Look up tapping therapy. Don't do it. I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and do it. I'm just saying be aware. I need to be more diligent about putting something over my camera maybe every time I'm on the computer. I'm not diligent about it. I probably need to be more so. And then we talked about the CES. I think it's called CES 2020. I'll put a link to it in the description box. I'll put it at the end. All right. So again, that's all I want to cover. That's out of the realm of scripture, just to kind of look at, what's going on in society today. All right. Take just a break for just a second, and I'll be right back. Okay, back. Coffee fixed. We're good. We got that out of the way. All right, let's continue on. So again, let's go back and look at the word before we can get into the scriptures. Again, the word for minded, or having this mind in you, or being of the understanding that you are a son and daughter in the house of Elohim, being able to distinguish, to separate, hear what's going on because you have the seed in here. This is our word again. It's to understand. It's we are the ones. The sons and the daughters are called to follow the tent floor plan. All of it, part of it, a piece of it. Anyone that sins in one point has broken all the commands. There is no compromise. It's black and white. That by our works, we show that we are the sons and daughters, the seed, sons are the seed, not like Yahuwah, whose seed is what he breathed, of Elohim. That the seed that has been planted in us, that we are the house, that we have the understanding of the works we should be doing, the way in which we should worship, which also is the Yod. And as the next word in that verse implied from Philippians 2:2, the correct meaning of love. If we have this understanding in and of ourselves, that's when we walk in accord and echad with one another. All those social interactions, micro-sociology that we talked about that they're trying to infect and disease. Hey, I knew I'd use that word again. That's where it's coming in at. One person at a time. And then it comes into our interactions and someone plants a different seed and it begins to take off because it's being fed and watered and nurtured by the wolves in sheep clothing, by the tares amongst the wheat, by someone that's just kind of been hanging out there. And now they're kind of getting put, they might even be a quiet someone. Imagine that. We can then be in a Had accord and a Had mind, with a Had understanding, have the same understanding with other members of the family of Elohim, with our brothers and our sisters, the children of Elohim, the seed. The understanding of the Son, the Word, the seed himself, in us. We're going to have that. We need to be so familiar with the understanding of the truth, to distinguish what is truth and what is not, that when that other seed, that counterfeit word looms on the horizon, we recognize it immediately. That was our word that we looked at. Okay. So this is where we took it from. Isaiah 44, we took it from verse 18. Let's just go read that section because I don't want to leave it hanging out there like we just traced it somewhere and it doesn't mean anything. Every once in a while you get that just because, don't thank some Masoretic text and maybe Rabbi Akiba for that. Isaiah 44:17. All right, so he's got his carved image and he takes part of the wood and he bakes bread and he makes a mighty one to bow himself down to, and etc., etc. And the rest of it he makes into a mighty one, his carved image. He falls down before it and worships, prays to it and says, "Deliver me, for you are my mighty one." Today we might not have, some places do. Just look at the Catholic Church. Look at the places that even have a cross up that maybe don't have all the idolatry statues that they have in the Catholic Church. How many bow down and worship before money, before mammon? The sentiment, the motives have not changed. The object may have changed some, maybe not. But what's in here, in order to do what's written here, that's nothing new under the sun. Deliver me, for you are my mighty one. I think they said that at the golden calf, now that I think about it. They do not know nor understand. They do not know or understand. For he has smeared their eyes from seeing and their hearts from understanding. And no one recalls it to his heart, nor is there any knowledge nor understanding to say, I have burned half of it in the fire, and I have also baked bread on its coals. I have roasted meat and eaten it, and I shall make the rest of it an abomination. And shall I make the rest of it an abomination? Should I fall down before a log of wood? Feeding on ashes, a deceived heart turns him aside, and he does not deliver his being, nor says, Is there not a lie in my right hand? It's got nothing to do with the right-hand power of Elohim, what's going on in these verses. There is no knowledge. There is no understanding. It's not even an abomination to him. It's like the real deal. Like this is our mighty one. So here's the verse that it came from. They do not know, nor understand. There's our word. They have no understanding, and not distinguish between being sons and daughters of the house of Elohim and not being children of their father the devil, or being children of our father Yahuwah Elohim and carrying that family name. For Yahuwah has smeared their eyes from seeing. Why? Because they love the flesh. They love the darkness rather than the light. And their hearts from this understanding, different understanding. So we're going to look at this word. No. They do not know. Should have put that at the bottom. Okay. It's down here at the V. We see it that it is no. The action is see. The abstract is knowledge. To have an intimate relationship with another person, idea, experience, the word, Yahuwah Elohim. To have an intimate relationship with Yahuwah Elohim as one who is striving to enter the door. Hear us today to be his bride. Don't have none of that. They don't know. They just don't know. At the two-letter root, we see the dal ayin from right to left. The action is to see. The abstract is knowledge. The pictograph dal is a picture of the door. The ayin is a picture of the eye. Through the eyes, one experiences the world around him, the world we sojourn in, and learns from it. That's why we have frontlets between our eyes. Combined, these pictures mean the door of the eye. The eye is the window into man's very being. We need to watch those pulses for sure. Nonetheless, that's why we have frontlets between our eyes that are based, that are the commands and the laws and the right rulings of Yahuwah Elohim. So when the counterfeit looms on the horizon, we recognize it immediately. It may come in through the ear. It may. The eye is the window into man's very being. Oh, isn't that the truth? Experience is gained through visual observation. Knowledge is achieved through these experiences. Don't believe everything you hear, and don't believe everything you see either anymore. Used to be you could kind of believe what you saw. You can't anymore. You have to have those frontlets between your eyes. So familiar, because it'll be, for those, he's looking to deceive the elect if they weren't warriors, if that were possible. If they weren't warriors in the family of heads, he's looking to deceive them. He's not going to deceive them with a macro scale. He's going to have to deceive them on a And I mean, what I'm going to call it, a nanoscale. The 1828 Webster's, we see this meant to be intimate. A familiar friend or associate. One to whom the thoughts of another are entrusted without reserve. Is there that intimate relationship we have going on with Yahuwah Elohim? We should have it with our brothers and sisters. We should be able to have it with our brothers and sisters. For he has smeared their eyes from seeing. They can't have any intimate knowledge because he smeared their eyes from seeing. What's that mean? A primitive root to smear, especially with lime. It tells us in the Strong's Concordance. Down here, plaster. To spread plaster out on a surface. The concrete is plaster. We have the tet and the het. The action is to grind the concrete as plaster. The pictograph tet is a picture of a basket. The het is a picture of a wall. Combined, these mean contain the wall. Limestone was ground into a powder and mixed with water. The plaster is used as a strong and durable coating on floors and walls. Limestone was ingested to calm an upset stomach. This is a strong and durable coating that has plastered their eyes shut because they have no desire. They love the darkness rather than the light. He even came into his own and they didn't recognize him because they couldn't see who he was. People love the flesh. They want control. They want to be Elohim because that is what the enemy is driving them to want to be, Elohim. And they're thinking they're going to get everything they want. And they're going to fall under the end time, I want to call it a ministry, but just doesn't seem right. They're going to fall under the end time deception of the anti-Messiah. Plastered the door of the eyes shut. And their hearts, the authority that's inside of them, from understanding. The Strong's Concordance, this word is sakal. It's kind of a different word for understanding. It's a different aspect of understanding. A primitive root to be causatively make or act circumspect and hence intelligent. The 1828 Webster's Dictionary. Well, that should say circumspect right there. Let's fix that on the fly too. Oh, well, alrighty then. That must be coming up later on. Oh, yeah, I think it is. Circumspect. Literally looking on all sides. Looking around. Cautious. Prudent. Watchful on all sides. Examining carefully. All the circumstances that may affect a determination. Distinguish what's going to happen. Is this of Elohim? Can we see? Are we looking through the frontlets on our eyes? Are we checking it with the 10th floor man that we're supposed to be sons and daughters in that house? That may affect a determination. Are we checking out the interaction that's going on? Is it socially engineered? Is it engineered of the enemy because it's got a slight twist to it? Or a measure to be adopted? You see down here, it's at the V. It is to understand. The ability to consider a situation with comprehension in order to be successful or prosperous. Prosperous. In what? In the kingdom, in the house of Elohim, under the 10th floor plan, under his rules by the seed that's been planted inside of us. We have an understanding of what it means. Now, are we considering the situations around us? Are they socially engineered? Or are these situations that Yahuwah Elohim is putting in our life? Not that he can't use something bad that happens for good. We look at Joseph and see that. But would you just want to consider him and see the truth to begin with? Of course. Is it going to always happen in this sinful, fallen world? No. Wouldn't it make life a lot easier? I'm not saying it wouldn't be hard. There's still trials. Count it all joy. All right. This is not the place we want to be. We want to know and have an intimate relationship with Yahuwah our Elohim and understand what it means to be a son and daughter in the house of the Most High Elohim, with the seed that's planted in us, passing it along so that the house might continue. We do not want our eyes smeared, closed from seeing, plastered shut. And we don't want to be taking instruction from those that have them plastered shut, or be socially engineered, or follow anything they have. We want our hearts to have the understanding of what it means to be successful and prosperous in the kingdom of Yahuwah Elohim unto eternal life. We want to have the understanding that when we examine carefully all the circumstances that are going to affect the determination that we're going to make, we want to have the understanding that comes from the intimate knowledge of being a son and daughter of in the house, following the tent floor plan of Yahuwah Elohim. This applies to the Torah that he's laid out in the Old Testament. But for each of us, he's got a different plan. I'm not going to the same job that you are to work at. Someone's not going to marry the same husband as someone else, right? I mean, there's different things we have in our own individual lives, directions that he's leading us. We need to be so familiar with the voice of the shepherd that cares for and leads those sheep, going for the one that got lost. We need to be so familiar with that voice that we're at the right place at the right time. Well, I'm going to go look at this other verse, or the next verse, that the same word is in it. I really want to tear this one apart. This speaks to making a determination and distinguishing one from the other. Thought I split these up different. Maybe I didn't. I cry to you, O Yahuwah my rock. Do not be deaf to me. For if you are silent to me, I shall be like those who go down to the pit. Are we listening? Can we hear the voice? His sheep hear his voice. And they know him. And they follow him. The word is in motion. Are we following the word? Hear the voice of my prayers when I cry to you, when I lift up my hands towards your set-apart speaking place. So lifting up his hands to the set-apart speaking place. H1687 is this oracle as we see it in the King James. That hurts to say. It is right here at 2093b, sanctuary, a place of order. Anything that comes from him is the order of the King of Righteousness. It is in order, and it is the epitome of perfection. You can't get that here. Unless it's from him. Yeah, that's a subject for another day. It actually comes from the 3-letter root here, Debar. The action is order, the concrete is word, an arrangement or placement of something creating order. His placement of things creates order. We're out of order this side of sin. We just are. We should be striving to be like him so that when he is revealed, we will be like him. But we need to be striving to be in that order that he created, laid out in his tent floor plan for his sons and daughters, his seed, to follow. Psalmist lifting up his hands to this place. Don't be deaf to me. Don't be silent to me. We have to hear from Yah. We have to hear the voice of the shepherd. Anything else is, any other voice is for naught. It's a lie. This 3-letter, as Benner has it in his book. Oh, I don't think I have my book here. Usually I show it. Hold on. If you don't have this book, I encourage each and every one of you to get this book. It is one of the top study aids there has ever been. So this 3-letter root comes from the Dal Resh, and I happen to agree with them on this one. The concrete is a circle. The pictograph Dal is a picture of a door representing a moving back and forth. The Resh is the head of man. Combined, these mean the back and forth movement of man. A generation is one revolution of the family line. Just like we saw in the picture of the tent being renewed, being renewed, being renewed, the house being renewed, being renewed, being renewed. It's this constant cycle. The Hebraic understanding of order is the continual cyclical process of life and death, or renewal and destruction. This root can also have the meaning of circling around something in a wide area or to cover a large area. So order is life and then death and then renewal and destruction. We see it with the seasons, for example. We see it with generations. That's what this word is. The Dalit Resh is door. La door of a door, from generation to generation. But in this order, we also see that the word is constantly in motion. Day after day. Week, Sabbath after Sabbath. Year after year with the feasts. Every 7 years with the sabbatical year. Every 7 sevens for the Jubilee year. It's constantly in motion. We need to be constantly following the word, the voice of the shepherd. Don't be deaf to me. Don't be silent to us, Yah. We want to be the generation of your people. We need to follow that word so close, not like Peter at a distance. We need to be right up on it. So we are at the right place at the right time. There is one now, and it's gone. They can't get that at what they're trying to get at over there. They can't get to the now. And I have to say, with a smirk on my face, I think that's just grand, that they can't get to it. And then the psalmist goes on to say, let me go back to that. Why is he lifting his hands up? Because Yahuwah Elohim is speaking into our hearts. Why? Because that's where the seed is. It's been watered. It's been planted. It's been nourished. He's giving the increase. He is speaking into the sons and daughters of his house who have the seed in them. Are we following that word so closely that we hear that voice? Okay, next slide. Next verse. Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak. They're running their mouths too. They ain't got the voice of Yah. They speak peace. What? Peace and safety? Right. Correct. It's a false sense of security. They speak it to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts. All right, we're going to go through these words. We're going to look at draw. Draw me not. To bring by compulsion, to cause to come. Sounds like social engineering to me. But the psalmist is saying, don't draw me away from them. They're trying to draw you by compulsion. He, Yahuwah Elohim, is trying to draw us and pull us out of this world, to not be of it, to be in it, but not be of it. That's what he's trying to draw us out of. We don't want to be drawn away with the compulsion of the wicked. We don't want that. He's begging him. Do not allow me to be drawn away with the wicked. Don't be silent to me. Speak to my heart, that I might follow the voice of the shepherd. A drawing out of something such as a hand, a bow, a sound, or time. Draw me not away. Do not allow me to be in the compulsion of what they're doing. Speak to me. Don't be silent to me. Not. It's nothing. Well, let's go down here. Yeah, nothing. To be without. To not be. It's the lam and the el from right to left. Without. To be without anything such as nothing. Apparently the opposite of the el lam. The el lam is El, Elohim. The lam el is opposite. Draw me not away with the wicked in the compulsion of those things which are opposite of Elohim. Draw me not away with that. Speak to me that I might follow your voice. Don't be silent to me. Bring me in line, put me in order with the King of Righteousness. Draw me not away with the wicked. To leave the correct path in the sense of being wicked. Speak to me. Don't be silent. Wicked, evil in principle or practice. Need I say more? Deviating from the divine law. Need we say more? Addicted to vice, sinful, immoral. Nothing about anything they are engineering on a macro scale, or the enemy and whoever he's using, and on a micro scale. Nothing about it is of Yahuwah Elohim. Some of it might look like it, and they might twist some scriptures. It is sinful, it is immoral, it is wicked, and it is against the divine law. He's only got one object left. He's changed I'm talking about the adversary and the people he's used, whether knowingly or unknowingly. They've changed the water, they've changed the air, they've changed the plants, they've changed the earth, they've changed everything. Now it's time to change us. We're the last goal. This is a word of comprehensive signification, extending to everything that is contrary to the moral law. Everything. Nothing is left untouched. To both persons and actions. Because we saw in the understanding, it was a bait, a yod, and a noon. Both to persons, the sons and the daughters of the house of Elohim, and actions, the yod, the works, and the worship that the seed, the sons and the daughters, are to do. Don't draw me away with these people, he says. They will cause you to come under compulsion. Just like that. Just like I just did. They are wicked and everything contrary to the divine moral law of Yahuwah Elohim, no matter how moral and how kind and how loving they try to make it sound. on the macro scale and on a micro scale. And don't draw me away with the workers of iniquity. Hebrew 2:05, ahwen, from an unused root, perhaps meaning properly to pant, hence to exert oneself, usually in vain. Well, ain't that the truth? Boy, if he ain't wearing out the set-apart ones, well, he has. The scripture says so. But I don't know what, because I tell you, there's days this world would just like to wear you out. Me too. Strictly nothingness. Also trouble, vanity, wickedness, specifically an idol. Just like we saw in Isaiah 44:18. All right. It comes from this right here, 1014 JN. Did I show you guys this book? Yeah, I know I did. I'm just kidding. Let me show it to you again. I highly encourage everyone to get this in your resources and use it diligently. Am I saying I agree with absolutely everything in here? Absolutely not. But boy, this is a tool to have. Agree with quite a bit of it. Most of it, okay, I can go with most of it. It is the tool to have in your resources. All right, that's enough of that. These workers of iniquity. The first definite, well, let's see. It's an L, a wa, and a noon. The first definition is vigor. Listen to this. The power within the belly or loins. What's in the loins? The seed for reproductive or creative work. They're trying to reproduce the seed of the enemy. They're actually trying to create, but they can't get there because they can't get to the now. Don't make me say that makes me smile again, because that makes me smile. They can never get there. They can only get so close. They might get kind of close, but they can only get so close. Because he, the adversary, and all those under him will never be Yahuwah. The second definition is vanity. The use. Now we're using it. We don't just have the power of this other seed. Now the use of the power within the loins for vain or improper purposes. Everything against the divine law of Yahuwah Elohim to draw us away from being sons and daughters and the understanding of what that means, so that if we do have it on a micro scale, we can walk in one accord, one of being and purpose. The concrete is produce and the abstract is vigor. At the two-letter root, we have the L and the noon. The action is produce. The concrete is to produce. The pictograph L represents an ox. The noon is a picture of a seed. Right? Plant, animal, or man. Word, maybe. The male searches out the female and approaches her for reproducing. See Jeremiah 2:24. That's quite the chapter. This can also be a search for the purpose of producing something. They are on the hunt to produce something. Anything that's not in accordance with the divine law, in any way they can create, in any way they can get to the now in time. All right. So the word is an L, which is power, leader, strength, or yoke. The wa, which is the tent peg, means to hook, secure, join, add. And the noon, the seed or fish, also the seed is the word, continue, sun, air, life. These workers of iniquity have power, L, securely, wa, in their loins. It's there. It's there. It is a seed, noon, used for reproduction of the next generation of the wicked seed. Just like we saw in he's lifting up his hands to that holy oracle, that place. God speaking to us, not speaking to us. This enemy is speaking too. For vain and improper purposes. He's a liar. And those after him are children of their father the devil. He's been a murderer and a liar since the very beginning and wants to take us with him. The seed is the one that is at enmity with the seed of Yahuwah. At enmity with the word seed of Yah himself and of those who carry and spread the seed of Yahuwah. There's enmity there. Hatred. For what? 2 Corinthians 6. Well, let's go read that real quick. Do not become unevenly yoked with unbelievers, for what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? And what fellowship light with darkness? And what agreement has Messiah with Belial? Or what part does a believer have with an unbeliever? Come out from among them and be separate, says Yahuwah, and do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you. And when he is revealed, we shall be made like him. Do not touch what is unclean. What's unclean? The unclean word. The unclean word tells us to do everything that is unclean. Therefore, we cannot cleanse ourselves. We read in 1 John chapter 3. We cleanse ourselves. We don't continue to touch the unclean word. We don't continue to follow after and continue in this unclean word. We sin no more. Go and sin no more. The seed of wickedness is surely for vain and improper purposes. We can surely see this on the macro scale, the wicked seed being used to socially engineer people. We can see it. We see it. I'll just name a few things, and these are even stupid for me to say. But maybe they're not. The Super Bowl, the television, the superheroes. Macro scale, wicked seed, stop it. That's ridiculosity. We don't need to be entertained with that garbage. Do I ever look at something that's of the other seed? Yeah, every once in a while I look to see what in the world's going on out there. But I do not, and we should not follow after that. It is just, we need to know what's on the horizon, especially to teach the generations that come. Let me not say that. Because who the little ones are out there interacting with, we need to be sure that they know. That is not what we follow after. We can see it on a macro scale, this wicked seed being used to socially engineer people. But what about on the smaller scale, the micro-sociological scale? What about that? We talked about that. The wolves in sheep's clothing, the tares amongst the wheat. I'd like to even say the sleeper cell sometimes. Can I give a scripture for that? No. Maybe that's spies in the land. It's just part of where we are. These workers of iniquity that use this other seed for vain or improper purposes, that they have power with this seed. People listen. Do they have power over Yahuwah with this seed? No, only if you listen. Beg Yah, please don't be silent to me. Speak into my heart. Don't be deaf to my crying out to you. We are in a time now more than ever. At least I see it because this is the time I live in. We need to cry out to Yahuwah Elohim at every turn that we not be deceived. Which speak peace to their neighbors. So they're speaking. Here we are. They're speaking. Remember, Yahuwah was speaking from his holy oracle, from a place. He speaks from a place of order into those sons and daughters who would strive for and cry out for the understanding and follow the tent floor plan. But they are speaking something. It's an arrangement or placement of something, creating order. New world order, maybe. Their own order. Social constructionism that we saw, the way they see order. Call it whatever you want. The enemy's creating an order. Order out of chaos, order under himself, order for himself, order to take you to eternal death. However we want to say it. That's what it is. So we see that it's an arrangement. We saw this before. You see it in the 1828 Webster's down here. The act of putting in proper order, the state of being put in order. They're going to put you in order, all right? Or they're going to put you out of order, which is fine because we don't fear man. We fear what Yahuwah Elohim can do to the body and to the soul. Disposition in suitable form. They are speaking peace. It's the peace that the world gives, which is peace in and of earthly matters. A greeting is desire for completeness to another. They are speaking this peace from a wicked seed. They are not speaking the shalom to be complete as sons and daughters in the house of Yahuwah Elohim. Made whole or complete by adding or subtracting. They are trying to make you whole and complete by adding things that shouldn't be there and subtracting things that should. It's absolutely the opposite with Yahuwah. The peace, shalom of Yahuwah should rule in our hearts, should be the authority that is inside of us. That is the seed that gives us the fullness and the completeness of shalom. And that is the greeting we should be giving to each other. And we should be walking it out with the understanding in and of our own selves so that we can walk together in one accord. So that on that microsociological level, which is what they call it today, we have the interaction that cannot be broken by the enemy. Complete, having no deficiency. Perfect. Not perfect in their eyes. Mature, full stalks of wheat in the eyes of Yahuwah Elohim. No deficiency. They are speaking peace and safety, a false sense of security, to their neighbors, to their friends, a close companion. The concrete is friend. The resh ayin, the action is to feed. The concrete is shepherd, and the abstract is desire. The pictograph resh is a picture of the head of man. The ayin is a picture of the eye. Combined, these mean man watches. The shepherd closely watched over his flock. Often they are his only companions. We need to be so familiar with the voice of the shepherd that we are not distracted. He says, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. We need to beg him not to ever be silent to us and cry out to him more than ever. That he would watch over us in this day, in this time. As the taught ones, as all throughout history should have done. We are living in a time, I'm sure, like no other. Is it going to get worse? I'm sure it is. I have no doubt in my mind. Who do we want to feed us? Who's our neighbor? Who's feeding us? Who's our friend? Who's our companion? Is it really the shepherd? Or is this someone else watching over us to cause us to move with compulsion? In the direction they want us to move, in the interactions they want us to move us in the way that they want us to interact? Are we just following simply the voice of the shepherd? So we saw here it said, man watches, the shepherd watches, Yahuwah watches. He is the chief shepherd. We ought to be having shepherds watching over us like this. not wolves in sheep's clothing. Not the self-appointed appointing the self-appointed, coming against the appointed. Watches. The 1828 Webster's. Beautiful. To watch. Attendance without sleep. He never sleeps or slumbers. Does the AI they put in place never sleep or slumber? That is correct. But they don't watch us like he does. And we don't follow their voice. Yahuwah Elohim watches without sleep and without slumber. He pays attention and close observation and keeps watch over us of those that are, it says, keep watch of the suspicious man. Well, who would that be? Not that he doesn't know that he's not coming. He needs to watch out for him because he's like on the lookout because he doesn't know, because he's not all knowing. Come on. That's the topic for another day. Who's feeding us? Who are we allowing to feed us in our life? It's a word game. It's all a word game. A picture's worth 1,000 words. So you see something with your eyes, like that intimate knowledge we talked about. Let me get those fingers on the screen. We do that again. That was kind of fun. Like that intimate knowledge that we talked about. A picture's worth 1,000 words. Look at these pictures that he's breathed. I got one word here. And can you hear and can you see with these pictures what he's spoken? The enemy is doing the same thing. But he's not leading you to be like him when he is revealed. But there is mischief in their hearts. Mischief. Bad, something dysfunctional, wrong, evil, or wicked. To shout an alarm, war, or great rejoicing. The concrete is bad. The action is grieved. The concrete is bad. We see here something dysfunctional. Wrong, evil, or wicked. We covered wicked, wrong, dysfunctional. Not performing normally as an organ or structure of the body. They are dysfunctional. They are not members of the body of Elohim, so they would not function correctly in the body of Elohim. Or maybe there's one that's been immersed into Messiah that is not functional. The rest, the body rushes the blood in which there is the life to that part to make it whole. What if it doesn't want to be whole? What happens to it? It dies. It's just the way it is. Do we want that? Of course not. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. On a personal level and on a group level. It's just the way it is. I didn't write that. I don't like it. Having a malfunctioning part or element. And their sentence for this is, I don't want to get my mouse over here. It is hard to get bills through a dysfunctional Congress. How much more a dysfunctional assembly? How much more dysfunctional group? We should all be on the same page as sons and daughters of Elohim walking in the tent floor plan. It is crucial. It is crucial. Behaving or acting outside social norms. Well, I am so dysfunctional of the social norms. I'm sure some of you are as well. All the siblings in their extremely dysfunctional family lost contacts as adults. We don't want to be in a dysfunctional family. So we see this word mischief, but it's actually dysfunction. They're dysfunctional. We have been trained and socially engineered in such a way. Oh, let me get those lights out of my eyes. that we've had to redeem the time and come back to being functional. It doesn't happen overnight. I get it. Okay, so they are dysfunctional in their heart. Heart. The concrete is heart. The abstract is to think. From what's planted in our heart comes what we think, what comes out of our mouth, and how we act. The pictograph lam is a picture of the shepherd's staff representing authority. The bait is a picture of a tent representing what is inside. Combine these mean authority inside. The consciousness, some of you can relate to that. The consciousness of man is seen as coming from deep inside the chest, the heart. Thirst as an inside desire for water. Consciousness should come from deep inside. The authority that is inside of us is where our consciousness, as sons and daughters in the house of the Most High Elohim, consciousness comes from the authority that is inside of us. We don't want our conscience to be seared. We don't want to be of a reprobate mind. And we don't want anybody pulsing anything inside of us. Yah, we cry out to you and we beg you not to be silent to us, Yah. To speak deep into our being, Father. Cause us the gift of true repentance and to turn from the flesh and to turn from darkness into your marvelous light, that our conscience would not be seared. That when we, whether mistakenly, unrealizingly, get trapped, we sin against you, Yah, that we do not continue to sin, but that we make teshuvah, Father. That your blood covers us, Yah, and that our conscience would speak to us from the deepness of the authority of the seed that's been planted inside of us. Father, do not be deaf to us, do not be silent, but speak to us, Yah. Speak to us. That voice of the shepherd that leads his flock, that leads his sheep home. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We don't want to be on this side of the fence with these people, with the wickedness and the iniquity and the peace and safety and the peace of this world and dysfunction in our hearts. Yah, we don't want that. Give them according to their deeds and according to the wickedness of their endeavors. Give them after the work of their hands. We as sons and daughters of Yahuwah Elohim had works of our hands, being in the house of Elohim. Render to them their desert. We would say their just desert. Right ruling desert, if you will. According to the wickedness of their endeavors. Right here, of their works. Some of these other words for works and deeds in this psalm come from the same root line. We're just going to look at this one. Works. The action is work. The yoke was lifted up onto the shoulder of the oxen to perform the work. Isn't that interesting? Well, let's just change that right off. See, I told you I didn't agree with everything in this book. Oh. It's at 1357 BA. We saw the A down here. A two-letter root from right to left is an ayin lam. The action is work. The concrete is yoke. The pictograph ayin is a picture of the eye representing knowledge and experience. Intimacy. Experience. Intimacy. And the lam is a picture of a shepherd's staff. Follow the voice of the shepherd. Or yoke. Combine these mean experience the staff. Are we intimate with the shepherd? Are we intimate with his instructions? Have we experienced his instructions? They haven't. The psalmist is asking to give them according to the wickedness of their deeds. The yoke, a staff, is lifted over the shoulder, is attached to the oxen for performing the work. We have come out from under the yoke of bondage. Let's not go back. Give them according to the wickedness of the yoke which they are in and the works which they have performed. Right here. They have knowledge. This is the Lammas instruct, to teach, to goad. It's the shepherd. It's the staff. Their endeavors have caused them to be in a yoke and perform works which come from the experience and the knowledge of being goaded to other instructions, to the teachings that the enemy and the seed that comes from the power within that loin has caused them to do, to be in that yoke, to be performing those works. And again, we as sons and daughters of Yahuwah Elohim are to be in the tent, in the family, in the house, the tent floor plan, doing the works, the actions of the seed that's been planted inside of us. And Yahuwah himself came and showed us how to do it. Why? This should be the most beautiful part, for the love of his bride, that we might experience the staff and know how to die to the flesh, that when he comes we might be like him when he is revealed and be intimate with him. Give them after the work of their hands and render to them their desert. Render it to them. To turn back. That's eternal death. You ain't coming in here. Ain't nobody that following the Father's rules coming into the Father's house. It's that simple. The action turn, a turning back to a previous state or place. Go where you came from. Because you love the darkness rather than the light. You live for the matters of the earth rather than the matters of the spiritual. We need to cry out that he would speak to us and we would hear that voice and we would follow him home. The action to turn, the concrete is seat. The shin is a picture of the two front teeth representing pressing. The bait is a picture of the tent. Combine these mean press to the tent. We need to cry out that we would be pressed to the tent, not turn back from it. That's a just desert for them. He's going to rightly rule. A place of dwelling is a place to return to. That would be eternal fire. A turning back or away from someone or something, a captive, is one turned away from a place of dwelling. Captive. In this other yoke. Captive to the seed of the enemy. Render to them their just desert. Their dessert. Now I got that stuck in my mouth. That's probably where we got it, though. I don't know that for a fact. It's 1576. It's right here. And it's Ancient Hebrew Lexicon 2070D, Hebrew 1576. Yielding. The production of a product as a benefit or a reward. We saw the workers of iniquity were producing produce from the seed of the loins, using the power of the seed of the loins for vain or improper purposes. So they're yielding a production, a product. These people they're going to get a reward. They're going to get the reward they deserve, which is going to be the lake of fire, which is going to be the forever ending of that seed, of that DNA. We, on the other hand, looking at the opposite, he comes speedily with his reward. We better be ready. We better be ready. We can see it's the Gam, the Mem, and the Lamb. This is Gimel. It is not the letter. The letter that should stand there is gam. It should be a 2-letter root. The action is yield. The ripening of a crop or the weaning of a child is one now able to yield work. Whose work? Over here. Whose instructions? Whose staff are we experiencing? Who's goading us in what direction? Is it the enemy? Or is it Yahuwah? Is it the hive mind? Or is it the voice of the shepherd? Also, the yielding of good or evil as a reward. And it comes from the gam, the gam mem, a gathering of the yield, a gathering of the crop, a bringing into the house. The harvest is coming in. Here's the gam. Some of it's going to blow away like chaff in the wind, go into the fire. Some of it's going to be gathered into the storehouse. Come on. The action is to gather, the concrete is foot. The gam is a picture of the foot and means to walk. The mem is water. Combined, these mean a walk to the water. The watering well or other place of water is a gathering place for men, animals, plants for drinking. Men and animals may walk great distances for these watering holes while plants grow in abundance in them. We are supposed to be, according to Psalm 133, on this walk to the water, dwelling in unity, ihad, with the brethren. But if we don't have the understanding in and of ourselves what it means to be a son and daughter of Yahushua Messiah, we are not on this walk to the water. The water of what? The water of life. The water that flows from underneath the throne. What are we drinking? Are we dry and thirsty? It reminds me of the, I think it's in Luke, where he just wants a drink of water. Oh, send someone to go tell my brothers. What's going to be our just desserts that's rendered to us? We need to cry out for Yahuwah Elohim to speak into our hearts that we might continually follow the voice of the shepherd on that walk to the water with the mishpachah. There's no compromise in that. The path to the water is straight. It doesn't go this way and then back around and then all of a sudden we're out here. That's not the way it goes. Because they regard not the works, they regard not the works of Yahuwah, nor the operation of his hands. He shall destroy them and not build them up. They understand not. They are not sons and daughters. They do not understand the tent floor plan. They are not part of the house. They are not in the family. Or they understand not the works of Yahuwah. Do we try and bring our brothers and sisters up and along? They can choose not. They get to choose. He knows what they're going to choose, but they get to choose. Here we're really, really pressing on the wicked here, but they get to choose who you're going to follow. So they understand. They regard not. There's 2 words here for this understand. The one we've looked at, and it's got an H413 here. Designating a group that is with the speaker. Are we all with the speaker whose hands the psalmist has raised his hands up to and said, don't be silent to me? Are we with the voice of the shepherd? Is the flock together? These ones aren't. They got no clue. In the sense of looking towards a sight, are we fixed on that destination? Are we got our eyes fixed on Yahuwah who came to rescue us? Because if not, we're going to sink. The action is look toward a sight. The hay is a picture of a man with his arms raised, looking at a great sight. The lam is a shepherd's staff, representing the idea of towards, as the staff is used to move sheep towards a direction. Are we being goaded to do what works? Under what yoke? Combined, these letters mean a looking towards something, such as a looking toward a light in the distance. Are we looking toward that light? Are we looking for that light? Are we walking in that light? The stars have always been used to guide the traveler, our shepherd, to find his home or destination. Just like the shepherds that saw the star in the distance, or the magi who saw the star in the distance. Quiet. They regard not. They got no understanding. They ain't looking towards it. They ain't looking for it. They might be messengers of the light of the enemy. They got nothing to do with Yahuwah and his light and looking towards him. So they understand not the works of Yahuwah. Here's this not again. It's the opposite of El. They do not understand what they're looking to, what they're looking for, the reward that's coming. Maybe some of them do. Maybe they think they can outsmart ya. Well, I know some of them think they can outsmart ya. That's just a given. Opposite of El. They do not understand. They are the opposite of El. They do not understand the works of Yahuwah. Right here. The work comes from the Ayin Lam that we looked at. They don't understand what to experience the staff of Yahuwah Elohim is, to be intimate and be goaded by him. They don't understand. Wages, what one is given for his work. Do we really understand what the wages of death are? The wages of sin is death. But the wages of Messiah is eternal life in him. Do we understand the wages that we're going to be paid by Yahuwah Elohim and the works of his hands, the operation of his hands? What's going to happen? Oh, this comes from this here, comes from this here. We already looked at it. He shall destroy them and not build them up. He's going to destroy. Demolish. Oh, it's not blue. Aw. To break something into pieces. Or pull it down. Anything that they're building, just like the Tower of Babel, thrown down into pieces. Wages of sin is death. It's over. He's going to tear it down, pull it up, throw it out. It's going to burn. And he shall not build them up. Why not? Because they're the opposite of who he is. He is not going to construct of them his house, his home, his family, a structure built for occupation. They're not going to be in that house. Ain't no way. You don't get to dishonor and disobey the Father and be in his house. And here we are at the same root line, the Beit Nun, that we started out with the understanding. Are we sons and daughters that are being built into the family of Yahuwah Elohim, the house of Yahuwah Elohim? Are we? Are we following the tent floor plan that was laid out in the Word, the seed, and following the revelation that he's given us by his breath? Are we? Do we have this understanding? Are we do we have that kind of intelligence? We're not looking for an earthly, worldly intelligence, minding the spiritual things. A carnal mind cannot discern spiritual things. We're not looking for that kind of intelligence. Is it okay to be intelligent here? Yeah. But it's for naught without the intelligence of the understanding of what it means to be a son and a daughter of Yahuwah Elohim, so we can walk in one accord of one being and one purpose as a family and a house of Yahuwah Elohim. We need to be so familiar with the instructions that are laid out in the Torah and so familiar with the voice of the shepherd that when he is leading us to wherever it is, that we know that it's him. Been there, been to the wrong place, done it. I'm sure we all have. How could we not have? We were born in it. We had to have. That time is over. We need to get right or get left. And let's finish out this passage. Blessed be Yahuwah. Blessed be Yahuwah. Speak to us, Yah, because he has heard the voice of my prayers. Because he's speaking to us and we're following the voice of the shepherd wherever he might go. Because the word is in motion. Yahuwah is my strength. He is the weapon that I know. Your strength comes from knowing and being intimate with the weapon. He is the weapon. He is the word. He is everything that came from him. And my shield, my heart has trusted in him. The authority that's inside of me trusts in the word that he's speaking to me, the plan that he's laid out. And I have been helped not to be drawn away with this compulsion and these people and all this thing that's going on and the fear that they're trying to put forth. I'm not saying we don't need to be familiar with these things, but we need not fear them. Do we need to be familiar and warn as watchmen on the wall? Of course. It's only doom and gloom if you're living in the flesh. Daniel saw these things, and I can't remember the word it was used. I don't even know what chapter it was in. He was sick. He was overwhelmed. He was overcome. Okay. Look at the people. I can't even fathom what he saw. But I see, but I can't even fathom. Therefore, my heart exalts, and with my song I thank him. Yahuwah is the strength of his people, and he is the stronghold of deliverance of his anointed. Are we anointed kings and priests? Are we prophets today, planting seeds in the house? Who was the anointed high priest, greatest prophet, and king of kings? Are we after him in that order? Shua your people, Yahusha. Yahuwah, save your people and bless your inheritance and be their shepherd. What are we looking for? To follow the voice of the shepherd and bear them up forever. Praise Yah. Well, that was beautiful. That is what he's got under there for us. If we will only strive to enter, it's beautiful. It's for whoever will. Will we? Will you? Will I? Will we? Let me get a drink of this coffee. Wow. All right, now we're just going to read through, I don't know, I think I got 3, maybe 4 sections of scripture. We're just going to read through them. Deuteronomy 4. That's what it says. And now, O Yisrael, if you are of Israel and you are striving to be intimate and to be the bride, listen to the laws and the right rulings, the tent floor plan, and the right rulings. You can get just desserts, which I am teaching you to do, goading you to do, so that you live and shall go in and possess the land which Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers is giving you. Live now, not for this place. Do not love your life unto death, and live eternal. Live now for Yahuwah, following his laws and his right rulings. The 10th floor plan. Do not add to the word, because that's what the enemy does, which I commanded you, and do not take away from it. We need to make sure that everything that's coming out of our mouth has not come from a point of being socially engineered by the enemy, and the power within those loins for vain and improper purposes that we are spreading. Yes, it does happen innocently. But we need to turn and repent the minute we realize it. We need to get so familiar with what's underneath these English words that when that counterfeit looms on the horizon, we say, so as to guard the commands of Yahuwah your Elohim, which I am commanding you. Because this is the whole of the law, to fear Elohim and to guard his commands. For your eyes have seen what Yahuwah did at Baal Peor. They actually saw it and experienced it with their own 2 eyes. You can read about that in Numbers 25. For Yahuwah your Elohim has destroyed from your midst all the men who followed Baal Peor. Pluck them up, throw them down, lake of fire. Now, they weren't lake of fire then, obviously, but that's what it's going to be. Because what happened aforetime was written for our instruction. But you who are clinging, have adhered to, and fasten yourself to Yahuwah your Elohim are alive today, every one of you. It happened then and now, and it's going to happen in the future. See, I have taught you. Taught the seed, the word of the shepherd himself, you the laws, the 10th floor plan, and the right rulings, as Yahuwah, my Elohim, commanded me to do in the land which you go in to possess. Who are we listening to? Who is feeding us? Who is our shepherd? Who are we following? Is it the word in motion? Or is it a wolf in sheep's clothing? Maybe we should make a list of what is not wolf in sheep's clothing material. And that might be shorter than the list of wolf in sheep clothing material. And you shall guard and do them. For this is your wisdom, your chokmah and your banah, your understanding. This is the understanding that makes you sons and daughters of Yisrael, those whom the bride and the priesthood and the millennial reign will be pulled from, that have an understanding of the 10th floor plan and the works that need to be done according to the seed that's been laid out before the eyes of the people. This is your wisdom and understanding before the eyes of the people. And with all your wisdom, get understanding. Before the eyes of the peoples who hear all these laws, and they shall say, only a wise and understanding people is this great nation. Only a wise and understanding people is this great nation. For what a great nation is there which has Elohim so near to it. Oh, speak to us. Do not be deaf to us. Speak into our hearts. Be the shepherd that leads us. As Yahuwah our Elohim is to us whenever we call on him. Don't be deaf to me. Cry out to him. And what great nation is there that has such laws and right rulings, the 10th floor plan and the just judgments, like all this Torah, all these Torah, all these laws, all this legalistic, some people would call it. It's the rules of the house. This 10th floor plan, which I set before you this day. Only guard yourself and guard your life diligently, lest you forget the words your eyes have seen. Wait a minute. Lest you forget the words your eyes have seen? A picture's worth 1,000 words. unless they turn aside from your heart. The authority inside of you does not increase, but is overtaken all the days of your life. And you shall make them known to your children. We're going to pass them along from generation to generation, cycle to cycle, how to follow the cycles of the word that's in motion. And your grandchildren. Oh, how did I get to that page? The day when you stood before Yahuwah, your Elohim, in Horeb, Yahuwah said to me, assemble the people to me, and I make them hear my words. The seed is for the sons and the daughters of Yahuwah Elohim, Yisrael, so that they learn to fear me all the days of their life on earth. What was that about? The marriage. What are we striving to be intimate for if it's not with our husband? And teach them to their children. And you came near and stood at the foot of the mount, and the mountain burned with fire to the heart of the heavens, darkness, cloud, and thick darkness. And Yahuwah spoke to you. He was not silent to them. He spoke to them. Out of the midst of fire, you heard a voice of words, but you saw no form. You only heard a voice. The voice of the shepherd. It wasn't saying blah, 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 blah. It was giving his voice is of words, giving instruction, laying out the tent floor plan. And he made known to you his covenant, which he commanded you to do, the 10 words. And he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. Are we striving to be the bride and be intimate with our husband? Can we hear his voice? Are we beseeching him to hear his voice? Are we following the tent floor plan? Are we doing the works that are involved? With the seed that he breathed? With the words that he's laid out? We're supposed to be a people of Chokmah and Benai, wisdom and understanding. Is that what we look like to others? Is that what we are in and of ourselves to relate to others? Or are we following on this micro scale the ways of the world, allowing ourselves to be socially engineered in little bits and pieces? Because like I said, some of it's on a macro scale. It's got the whole world. But on a micro scale, he can only just do it a little bit. Because we're going to recognize the big things. I look like the big bad wolf, rawr, right? The wolf in sheep's clothing is down here on the micro scale. I guess I think I'm funny tonight, eh? Yeah. All right, Philippians. Let's go back to where we started. Let's read this now. Oh boy, this is beautiful. If then there is any encouragement in Messiah. Are we encouraged? If there's any encouragement in Messiah. If any comfort of love. If any fellowship of the Spirit. If any affection and compassion. Any of this, he says, in Messiah. Make his joy complete by knowing in and of yourself the understanding of what it means to be a son and daughter of Yahushua Messiah, and to have this love within yourself, the love that Messiah had for his people, for his bride, that he came for, because he could, for the love of his bride, to show her how. Be complete by having this understanding in and of yourself, so that we might be in one being and of purpose, that we might be ihad. Because without this understanding and this love inside of each and every one of us, we can't walk in ihad. Ihad is oneness. We can't be one if there's something else hanging out here? How? Doing none at all through selfishness or self-conceit. Nothing can be done in such a manner, and we could possibly think that we are sons and daughters of Yahuwah Elohim. Have any of us been there and done that? I'll be the first to raise my hand. I'd raise it higher, but see, it goes off the screen. I'll be the first to raise my hand. Of course. But now, do we recognize it? Do we see it? Have we teshuvad? Have we repented? Are we now not walking that way? Are we now allowing that to increase in us the seed of Yahuwah Elohim of humility, considering others better than ourselves? What did he do? Each one should not look out only for his own interests. Well, of course we have to. But also the interest of others. From a place of non-selfishness or self-conceit of our own agenda and our own plan. Now, has any of us been there and done that? Oh, wait. Yep. For let this mind, let this understanding be in you, which was also in Messiah, Yahuwah, who came to rescue you. He understood what it meant to be the word, to be the seed, as we should understand what it means to be the seed, a different concept of us and him. Nonetheless, we should have this understanding of what it means to be. That he had the understanding of what it meant to be in Yahushua Messiah. What was that? Who, being the form of Elohim, did not regard equality with Elohim a matter to be grasped. He didn't need to grasp it, he was. Yahuwah Elohim is every piece, part, and conglomerate of his word. But he emptied himself. We need to empty ourselves. We need to decrease so that he can increase. He emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, whose feet are we washing, and came to be in the likeness of men. And having been found in fashion as a man, the fullness of Yahuwah Elohim wrapped in flesh, that which he breathed in its total perfection, in the flesh, wrapped in his word, the likeness of man, and having been found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself. We can't get there without this. We need to completely empty ourselves of anything that would come from the other seed, of any piece, part, and conglomerate of it that's trying to make its way into our life, the vain and improper seed that is trying to push itself powerfully onto us on a macro scale and on a micro scale. We need to humble ourselves and die. He humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even death on a stake. Are we going to take up our stake and crucify the flesh and die to the flesh? Because that's what he came and did. For who? For the love of his bride. For the love of his people. For the love of Israel. Elohim therefore has highly exalted him and given him the name which is above every name. Yahweh came to rescue us. His name was above all names. It always existed as that. There is one and only Elohim, one and only Savior. That the name of Yahuwah who came to rescue us, every knee should bow, of those in the heavens and of those on the earth and of those under the earth. And every tongue should confess that Yahuwah, Yahusha, Yahuwah who came to rescue us. The greatest prophet who planted the seed in the earth from the beginning. The high priest who caused the first sacrifice to be made in the garden. And the King of Kings is the master to his esteem, Elohim, the Father. Because he can be in the Shemaim and he can be on the earth at the same time. Because if he can't be in more than one place at a time, we got issues. We got a problem. He certainly can't know what in the world's going on anywhere. It's going to be one place at a time. What? That doesn't even make any sense. We need to that's not even where I was trying to go. We need to humble ourselves and become obedient and follow the tent floor plan and do the works, properly worshiping by the word, the seed that he has laid out, so that the house can continue, so that we are built up into the spiritual house of Yahuwah Elohim, that we might be the priesthood under him that is striving to enter the narrow gate into the Holy of Holies, into the marriage covenant. So that, my beloved, as you always obeyed, as you always followed the tent floor plan, as you always did what was laid out for the house of Elohim, which he gave you from the very beginning, not only in my presence, but now much rather in my absence. That's integrity. Work out your own deliverance with fear and trembling. Here is the whole of the law. Fear Yahuwah and guard his commands. For it is Elohim who is working in you. He is speaking to you. The voice of the shepherd is calling you. Are you crying out to him? In you both to desire and to work for his good pleasure, that when he is revealed, that we might be like him, increasing the seed so that it is a full mature stalk ready for the harvest. Romans 8. 1-17. There is then now no condemnation to those who are in Messiah, have been immersed into his death, who do not walk according to the flesh. What? We're dying to it. We're obedient. We've been humbled. We've emptied ourselves, just like he did to death, even death on a stake. What did he die to? The flesh. Are we willing to empty ourselves and die to this flesh so that we are sons and daughters in the house of you? Do we have the understanding what this even means? I apologize. I didn't mean for that tone of voice. But according to the Spirit. For the Torah of the Spirit of life for the Torah of the Spirit of the life in Messiah Yahusha has set me free. We see here that life is connected to the Torah. Life is connected to the law. Life is connected to the tent floor plan. Life is connected to the seed that was breathed, and following that and doing the works that entail that has set me free from the Torah of sin and death. Are we following Yahushua Messiah? Or are we following an Aaronic priesthood, quote unquote Levitical priesthood, that's saved for a time, a temporary priesthood that's saved for a time? Well, these guys are going to fight, huh? That's saved for a time. Are we following that? That's just going to bring about death. The only thing that brings about life in this day and age is Yahushua Messiah. That's it. Are we following the law of sin and death, whether it be that or the laws that are coming down that are not of Yahushua Messiah? For the Torah, being powerless in that it was weak through the flesh, Elohim, having sent his own seed, his own word, in the likeness of flesh, of sin, he was made in the likeness of man, wrapped himself in flesh. Did his flesh sin? No. But he was wrapped in the likeness of it. He was not born into sin, and concerning sin, condemned sin in the flesh by walking it out perfectly for the love of his bride, and to show us how. So that the righteousness by his own blood he redeemed us, condemned sin in the flesh, and by his own blood he redeemed us. Acts 20:28. So that the righteousness of the Torah should be completed in us, Yah completes a good work which he began in us. When we were immersed into Yahushua Messiah, if we continue on, if we endure, he completes the good work in us which he began. Should be completed in us who do not walk according to the flesh, because we've died to it. We've died to it. We do not love the darkness rather than the light. We are not living according to the seed of the enemy, but according to the Spirit. For those who live according to the flesh set their mind on the flesh. Those who live according to the other seed set their mind on those things according to the other seed. They are earthly and carnal in nature. But those who live according to the Spirit, the matters of the Spirit. The Torah is spiritual. Not that I could find that right now if I wanted to. Oh, wait, it's in 7:14. For we know the Torah is spiritual. But I am fleshly souled. Understand that was Romans 7:14. Walk according to the Spirit. Absolute obedience to the tent floor plan. Doing the works that have been laid out according to the word, according to the seed, according to him who showed us how and came for the love of his bride. And I'll say in addition to, not to add to his word, he is telling us to do. We are supposed to be following the voice of the shepherd. Go here, go there. Don't go where they said to go. If they say he's over there, don't go there. But according to what he's telling us, live here, go here, do this, do that, be this, be that. Evangelists, prophets, teachers, encouragers, prophets. We need to hear the voice of the shepherd. For the mind of the flesh is death. Sin is death. The wages of sin is death. The children of the devil are headed for death. But the mind of the Spirit, the understanding of the Spirit is life, eternal, and peace. True completeness and shalom, not the pieces the world gives. Because the mind of the flesh is enmity towards Elohim. It's the picture in the garden. There's enmity between the two seeds. They hate each other. The wicked seed wants to be Elohim, and it never will be. Messiah has no partnership with Belial. The flesh has no partnership with the Spirit. Because the mind of the flesh is enmity towards Elohim, for it does not subject itself to the Torah of Elohim, neither indeed is it able. Love the darkness rather than the light. The flesh is not going to subject itself. We have to put our flesh under subjection and die to it. Every time it rears its ugly head. And those who are in the flesh are unable to please Elohim. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. Are we listening to what the Ruach is? The wind is the voice of Elohim. As the shepherd is breathing, is speaking. Are we following that voice? If indeed the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you, but you are not of the flesh, but in the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you. And if anyone does not have the Spirit of Messiah, wait, I thought we had the Spirit of Elohim. How do we get the Spirit of Messiah? Because Elohim is Messiah. There are not two spirits. There is one Ruach HaKodesh. One Yah who came to rescue you. One Elohim. One Messiah. One high priest. One greatest prophet. one King of Kings, one Master, one husband, one Spirit. If anyone does not have the Spirit of Messiah, the anointed high priest, King of Kings, and greatest prophet, this one is not his. And if Messiah is in you, the body is truly dead on account of sin. This is the difference between the children of Elohim and the children of the devil in 1 John chapter 3. If Messiah is in you, the body is truly dead on account of sin, but the Spirit is life on account of righteousness. Sin goes with the devil. Righteousness goes with Yahuwah. That really goes without saying. And if the Spirit of him who raised his word to not return void, every piece, part, and conglomerate of who he is, he did not raise a separate individual. He can be in more than one place at a time. His word did not return void. It was raised back to the throne from which it came, to the power, strength, and authority at the right hand. Not that the power, strength, and authority ever left. We don't have to understand that in its fullness in our finite human minds. From the dead, if that Spirit dwells in you, he who raised Messiah from the dead shall also give life to your mortal bodies through his Spirit dwelling in you. Got life? Do we have life here? Do we truly have life that we're headed to eternal life? So then, brothers, we are not debtors to the flesh. We don't owe it nothing to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you are going to die. Here and now, then and there. Don't be envious of those who are not dead to the flesh here. They have nothing. Our treasures are stored in heaven, in the Shemayim. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you shall live. You're going to die to live, or you're going to live now to die. For as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, these are the sons, the seed from the house, that have the understanding and are being built into the spiritual house of Yahuwah Elohim. For you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear. Don't fear what man can do to us. But you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Ab, Father, as sons and daughters, being adopted into the family of Yahuwah Elohim. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children, seed from the house of Elohim. And if children, also heirs, truly heirs of Elohim, and co-heirs with Messiah, if indeed we suffer with him, in order that we also be exalted together. Second Peter 2. Chapter 1. Excuse me. 1 Peter 2, chapter 1. I knew that didn't look right. Having put aside then all evil, all dysfunction, all vain and improper purposes that come from the other seed and doing the work for that and being under that yoke, and all deceit and hypocrisies. You can't be riding the fence. The Hasatan owns the fence. One or the other. Hot or cold. And envyings and all dysfunctional words. All wickedness, all evil words, anything twisted that comes from the other seed, from vain or improper purposes that are in the loins, that have come through being socially engineered in one way, shape, or form by the enemy, macro or micro. As newborn babes, like we know nothing. Every time I see something, I feel like I know nothing. Desire the unadulterated milk of the word, of the truth, of the seed that gives understanding to the sons and daughters who are being built into the house in order that you grow by it so you might become a full mature stock of wheat ready for the harvest. If indeed you have tasted that the master is good, he's Tob, drawing near to him. Follow the voice of the shepherd and follow him close. Beseech Yahuwah not to be drawn away with the wicked, but draw near to the shepherd. A living stone. He's alive. Rejected indeed by men, as we will be, for being sons and daughters in the house of Yahuwah Elohim. But there'll be a day when they'll see that we had the wisdom and the understanding, but chosen by Elohim and precious. You also as living stones are being built up. Being built up. Not going to be torn down and plucked up and thrown to the side. A spiritual house. Being built up into the spiritual house. The family of Yahuwah Elohim that has an understanding within us. The same as Messiah, that have been obedient and died to the flesh. Took up our stake. Bear it daily. And have humbled ourselves in the sight of Yahuwah and of men, a set-apart priesthood, to offer up spiritual slaughter. We're a living sacrifice, daily, acceptable to Elohim. Through what? Through following Yahuwah who came to rescue us. The example, the laws and instructions and right rulings that he laid out before us, the tent floor plan, the way he showed us to come and how to walk it out, for the love of his bride. Do we love him and want to be that intimate? Because it is contained in the scripture, the tent floor plan. See, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone. Where's that going to? Mount Zion, a chief cornerstone, chosen, precious. He who believes on him shall by no means be put to shame. Belief is an action. This preciousness then is for you who believe, who do the works, who follow the truth, who have an understanding of what it means to be the sons and daughters, and are intimate with Yahuwah Elohim. But it's not given to those who are disobedient, like we saw in Psalm 28. They're going to be plucked up, torn down. Eyes are smeared like plaster. The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. A stone of stumbling and a rock that makes for falling. Who stumble because they are disobedient, they are not sons and daughters, they have no understanding. Wickedness and vain and improper purposes lie within them, and that's what they spread to the word. They are disobedient to the truth, to the word, to the seed, to which they were also appointed. Some were appointed to it. They're appointed to it. Because why? Because he knows who will and who won't. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a set-apart nation, a people for possession, that you should proclaim, a people for possession that have chokmah and understanding, that you should proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness. You do not love the darkness more than the light. You do not love your life unto death, called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Who were once not a people, but now the people of Elohim, with wisdom and understanding, who had not obtained compassion, but now obtained compassion. Beloved ones, I appeal to you as sojourners and pilgrims in the world, not of it, passing through. Abstain from fleshly lusts which battle against the being. Having your behavior among the nations Tob, so that when they speak against you as dysfunctional, wicked evildoers that just really don't understand about reality and they don't even live in reality. Well, no, we don't live in this reality. Let them, by observing your good works, those that come from the understanding of being a son or daughter of Yahuwah Elohim, esteem Elohim in the day of visitation. We have a choice to make. We need to be so familiar with this and what's underneath of it and what's going on in the world around us. Our focus needs not to be on that, but we need to be so familiar with the truth that when we look at the counterfeit and we see it because it's everywhere, we recognize it immediately. As sons and daughters with understanding of Yahuwah Elohim and being built into his house and members of his family. We cannot be in compromise and walk in Ihad. It's impossible. When you know something, we need to humble ourselves and we need to repent in the sight of Elohim. Take up our stake. We need to bear it. Father, I ask that you give each and every one of us, Yah, the understanding of what it means to be a son and a daughter built up into the house of Elohim. Give us, Father, that intimate knowledge inside of the authority that's inside of our being, a heart that beats for you, Yah, a heart that beats of you, Yah, that the authority inside of us not be from the power of the loins of the enemy, Father, but be the implanted word that might come forth from each and every one of us, Yah, that we would walk in one accord and one being on our way to the water of life, Father. Yah, give us intimate knowledge of who you are and who and where you want us to be, Yah. Let us be found with the same understanding in ourselves and the same love as you who came to rescue us. In Yahuwah's name. Hallelujah. Thank you, Father.